Something goes sideways. Could be a storm, a supply chain collapse, a blackout that runs longer than expected. You grab your keys and head to the nearest grocery store. The parking lot already tells you something is wrong. Too many cars. People moving with that specific kind of urgency that means they already know something you don't. You walk through the doors and the first thing that hits you is the sound, or rather the lack of it. No carts bumping into full shelves, just people moving fast through empty aisles. Bread? Gone by 10 a.m. Canned goods? Wiped by noon. Water? Some families never even got a shot at it. Here's the part nobody talks about though. While all of that was happening, while people were literally shoving each other over the last bag of rice, 11 specific foods were sitting completely untouched on those same shelves, fully stocked, some under $4, and at least one of them prevents a deficiency that has historically killed more people in prolonged survival situations than starvation itself. That item is almost certainly not in your stockpile right now. We're counting down all 11 today. Stay for number 1. It's the most consequential thing on this entire list. Let's get into it. Number 11, powdered milk. Let's start here because this food teaches the first real rule of emergency nutrition. The things that seem too obvious to bother with are almost always the things people either skip entirely or handle completely wrong, and then they pay for it later when it counts. Non-fat dry milk powder, sealed properly in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, retains its nutritional value for up to 20 years. That's not marketing. That's backed by actual food preservation research. No fresh dairy product on the planet gets anywhere close to that. Think about what happens to regular milk the moment a genuine disruption kicks in. It needs refrigeration at every single point in the distribution chain. The dairy farm, the truck, the warehouse, the store cooler. Break any link in that chain and fresh milk is gone within hours, not days. Hours. And the gap that leaves behind isn't just about missing your morning coffee. Calcium deficiency over weeks causes real problems. Bone density loss, muscle dysfunction, in serious cases, cardiovascular complications. For kids, inadequate calcium during growth creates consequences that outlast whatever emergency caused the problem in the first place. Powdered milk fills that hole cleanly. Stir it into water, add it to flatbreads, throw it into soups, mix it into grain dishes. It's flexible, familiar, and requires nothing beyond clean water to work. A large container runs somewhere between $10 and $15. It sits on shelves during shortage events precisely because people don't feel urgency about it until fresh dairy is already long gone. That's your window. Quick action. Buy one large container. Don't leave it in the cardboard box it came in. Move it immediately into sealed Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. That single step is the difference between a 2-year shelf life and a 20-year shelf life. It takes 10 minutes. Number 10, bouillon cubes. Most people hear bouillon cubes and think flavor enhancer, a nice optional extra, not something essential. That thinking is wrong, and it costs people in ways they genuinely don't anticipate until they're already deep in a crisis situation. Here's what actually happens when you're living off a stockpile for 2 weeks straight. Day 1, you're fine. Day 3, still manageable. Day 8, something quieter starts happening. You're not hungry in the traditional sense. The calories are there, the food is filling, but the same bowl of rice, the same canned beans, the same flavors every single meal. Something is eroding. And it's not your stomach, it's your patience, it's your morale, it's the willingness of the people around you to stay calm and function like adults under pressure. There's an actual documented physiological mechanism behind this. Researchers call it sensory-specific satiety. When your brain receives the exact same taste signal repeatedly, it progressively reduces the appetite signals that make eating feel worthwhile. You start eating less than you need. Not because you chose to, but because your body disengages from repetitive food. What follows is measurable. Caloric intake drops. Fatigue accelerates. Concentration degrades. That's a real health risk created entirely by monotony. One bouillon cube dropped into that bowl of rice changes everything about the sensory experience of that meal. Appetite reactivates. People eat properly again. That sounds trivial until you're on day 11 and the people around you are already fraying. There's also a secondary function most people completely miss. Dissolve a cube in hot water by itself and you have warm broth. Research on stress response and comfort behaviors consistently shows that warm, savory liquids have a measurable stabilizing effect on mood during high-stress periods. It sounds like a small thing. On day 12 of an emergency, it is not a small thing, $2 to $3 for a package. During shortage events, it sits completely untouched, while every seasoning, blend, and canned broth disappears. Quick action, stock multiple packages across different flavors. Pull them out of the cardboard packaging immediately. Cardboard absorbs moisture faster than almost anything else will degrade these. Put them in mason jars with a silica gel packet. Number 9. Dried lentils, but from the right store. Experienced preppers already know legumes belong in any serious food plan. The insight here isn't the food, it's where you're buying it. Walk into a mainstream grocery store and dried lentils cost close to $1 per pound. Walk into an Indian or South Asian grocery store and a 20-pound bag often costs 60 cents per pound or less. That's roughly 40% cheaper for the exact same nutrition. Often better variety too. These stores carry types that most people have never encountered. Red lentils, black lentils, several formats of split lentils, each with meaningfully different cooking times and textures. In an emergency, that difference becomes practical, not just culinary. Standard beans, the default prepper legume, require overnight soaking and an hour or more of active cooking time. In a scenario where fuel is limited, that time has a direct cost. Every extra hour on a camp stove burns fuel you may not be able to replace. Red lentils cook fully in under 20 minutes. No soaking, no advanced planning, no overnight prep required. Emergency cooking research consistently flags fuel conservation as one of the most overlooked variables in survival food planning. Red lentils cut fuel consumption by more than half compared to standard beans. 1 cup of cooked lentils delivers around 18 grams of protein, 16 grams of fiber, and meaningful amounts of iron and folate. That fiber number matters more than most people realize. Standard emergency staples, white rice, crackers, canned protein, contain almost no dietary fiber. Living without it for extended periods causes serious digestive disruption, which in a high-stress environment becomes a genuine health problem, not just discomfort. Stored properly in sealed containers, dried lentils stay viable for up to 30 years. Quick action: find the nearest Indian or South Asian grocery store. Buy the largest bag of red lentils they carry. The price will catch you off guard. The cooking speed will matter more than you expect the first time you're rationing fuel. Number 8. Instant coffee. Some of you just rolled your eyes. Stay with this, because the case here has nothing to do with preference. In any extended emergency situation, cognitive function degrades in measurable, documented ways. Decision quality drops, focus narrows, motivation falls off. Sleep disruption compounds every other problem you're already dealing with. The result is reduced capacity to manage a crisis at the exact moment that capacity is most critical. Caffeine has well-documented effects on alertness, concentration, and fatigue suppression. That's not a sales pitch. That's established pharmacology. It's not a substitute for sleep or adequate nutrition, but it's a modest, real, functional support layer for a brain already operating under sustained pressure. Freeze-dried instant coffee is shelf-stable for 20 years or more. Hot water in 30 seconds. No equipment, no complexity, nothing to break or run out of fuel. There's a secondary advantage most people don't consider. Caffeine has a mild appetite-suppressing effect, modest but real, and in a rationing scenario that provides some support for extending supplies without dramatically increasing perceived hunger. Then there's the dimension that's hardest to quantify but genuinely matters. For a huge portion of the population, morning coffee is the most deeply embedded daily ritual they have. Research on disaster psychology identifies routine maintenance as a key factor in sustaining resilience and decision quality under prolonged stress. Familiar rituals provide continuity when everything else around you feels unstable. $5 to $8 for a large jar. Takes up minimal space, weighs almost nothing, and consistently stays on shelves when essential food categories are already gone. Quick action. One large jar, that's it. Get it done. Number 7. Canned sardines. Here's one most people walk past without a second look. Sardines have a reputation problem. They're small, they smell strong, and they're associated with a kind of bare-bones eating that most people prefer not to think about. That reputation is exactly why they're never touched during a shortage event, while every other canned fish is long gone. Here's the nutritional reality. One can of sardines delivers around 23 grams of protein. It contains calcium levels that compete with dairy, specifically because sardines are eaten with their bones, which are soft enough to eat and calcium-dense. For a shelf-stable food, that's genuinely unusual. Sardines also contain significant vitamin D3, the animal-sourced form that the body absorbs more efficiently than the plant-based alternative. Most shelf-stable foods contain effectively zero vitamin D. Sardines are one of the few that don't require refrigeration and still deliver meaningful amounts. The omega-3 content is substantial, not quite at the level of mackerel, which we'll get to, but significantly higher than tuna and most other shelf-stable protein sources. There's also the cost factor. A can of sardines runs between $1 and $2 depending on where you buy them. For that price, you're getting protein, calcium, vitamin D, and omega-3 fatty acids in a single shelf-stable package with a 3 to 5 year shelf life. Quick action, pick up a case. Find a preparation style you can actually eat. There are more ways to use sardines than most people have ever tried. They work in pasta, on crackers, mashed into grain dishes, or eaten directly. The barrier here is entirely psychological. Number 6. Pickling salt. This is the item most people walk past without even registering it as relevant to emergency preparedness. Not table salt, not sea salt. Pickling salt specifically. Table salt contains anti-caking agents and iodine. Both of those are fine for everyday cooking, but both interfere with fermentation and preservation. They cause discoloration in preserved foods and disrupt the microbial environment that makes fermentation actually work. Sea salt carries trace minerals that create similar problems at any meaningful scale. Pickling salt is pure sodium chloride. Nothing added, nothing interfering. Here's the tension that most emergency food planning completely ignores. Every stockpile operates on a single core assumption. Your supplies will outlast whatever disruption you're dealing with. But what happens when they don't? When the canned goods run out and the situation is still ongoing? Historically, the answer has always been preservation. Brining, fermenting, and curing have sustained populations through winters, famines, and prolonged supply failures for thousands of years. These are not complicated techniques. They require basic knowledge, appropriate containers, and the correct salt. With pickling salt and some basic technique, fresh produce, garden vegetables, or forage greens can be extended by months, and most people miss the additional layer here. Fermentation doesn't only preserve food, it actively increases certain nutritional values and introduces beneficial microorganisms that support gut and immune function. The relationship between gut microbiome health and immune response is well established. When medical access is limited, that immune support becomes a genuine asset. A 4-pound container costs about $3. During every shortage event, it sits completely untouched on the shelf. Quick action, buy one container, spend 30 minutes learning basic lacto-fermentation before you need to use it. $3 in one afternoon of knowledge could meaningfully extend your food supply when everything else has run out. Number 5. Ghee. Almost every emergency stockpile has the same invisible gap. It's not protein, it's not carbohydrates, it's fat. Most food plans lean heavily on grains, rice, pasta, crackers, moderate protein from legumes and canned meat. But dietary fat gets treated as secondary, optional even. That's a biological misunderstanding with real consequences. Vitamins A, D, E, and K are fat-soluble. The body cannot absorb or use them without adequate dietary fat present. Fat is the transport mechanism for an entire category of critical nutrients. Without it, those vitamins pass through your system largely unused. A stockpile that looks nutritionally complete on paper can silently fail at that level, and you won't know until the deficiency symptoms show up. Ghee is clarified butter. The clarification process removes almost all water and milk solids, which eliminates the biological processes that cause ordinary fats to go rancid. Regular butter spoils within weeks at room temperature. Ghee stored in a cool, dark location stays stable for 1 to 2 years without refrigeration, and real-world reports from people who've tested this consistently put that number higher under good storage conditions. 1 tablespoon of ghee delivers around 120 calories of dense energy. It handles high cooking temperatures without breaking down, and it adds the kind of richness to plain rice or lentils that makes a meal feel like an actual meal rather than a caloric obligation you're getting through. During shortage events, cooking oils and butter disappear fast. Ghee, sitting in the international foods aisle, is almost always still there. Quick action, stock several jars. Ghee closes the fat gap in your nutritional plan and simultaneously makes every fat-soluble vitamin in your stockpile actually bioavailable. Both outcomes matter. Number 4, tahini. This one catches most people off guard because it doesn't look like survival food. It looks like a specialty ingredient. The kind of thing you bought for one specific recipe, used twice, and then forgot about in the back of the cabinet. That perception is precisely why it stays on shelves when everything around it gets cleared out. Tahini is ground sesame seed paste. 2 tablespoons contain nearly 200 calories from healthy fats and protein. Slow-burning, sustained energy rather than the quick spike and crash you get from refined carbohydrates. In any rationing scenario, that caloric efficiency matters considerably. It also contains all 9 essential amino acids, which makes it a complete protein source. That's genuinely rare in shelf-stable plant-based foods. Most of them are incomplete proteins that need to be combined with other foods to cover your full amino acid profile. Tahini does it by itself. It's among the most calcium-dense foods you can store, delivering more calcium per serving than an equivalent amount of dairy milk. For a plant-based, shelf-stable option, that's almost unmatched. Then there's magnesium. Deficiency builds quietly, and the symptoms are easy to misattribute. Muscle tension that won't release, sleep that doesn't feel restorative, anxiety that escalates without a clear external cause. Research consistently links magnesium deficiency with elevated anxiety and disrupted sleep patterns. Most core emergency staples deliver very little magnesium. Tahini delivers a meaningful dose per serving. Mix it with water and a small amount of acid, lemon juice if you have it, vinegar if you don't, and it becomes a sauce that transforms plain grains into something that actually feels like food. Stir it into soup for richness. Combine with honey for a high-energy spread, or eat it directly when simplicity is the priority. Unopened, tahini lasts a minimum of 2 years at room temperature and is almost universally on the shelf during shortage events. Quick action. Pick up several jars on your next grocery run. Complete protein, high calcium, high magnesium, dense calories. Almost nothing else at that price point covers that much nutritional ground in shelf-stable form. Number 3, canned pumpkin puree. We're now into the territory where the gaps are specific enough that most people don't even realize they exist until they're dealing with the consequences. 1 cup of plain canned pumpkin puree delivers over 700% of the daily recommended intake for vitamin A. 700%. From a $2 can. Make sure you're picturing the right product. Not pumpkin pie filling, which has added sugar and flavoring. Plain pumpkin puree only. Cooked pumpkin, nothing else added. Mild enough to add to savory dishes without meaningfully changing the flavor. Rice contains no vitamin A. Beans contain none. Pasta contains none. Freeze-dried meals have trace amounts at best. In a standard emergency stockpile, vitamin A is almost completely absent, and the deficiency follows a progression that starts invisible and becomes genuinely serious. First, night blindness, then dry, cracking skin, which in any environment with limited hygiene or medical access creates real infection risk. Then progressive immune suppression. Research on populations experiencing extended food insecurity consistently identifies vitamin A deficiency as a significant driver of preventable illness. A stockpile adequate in calories and protein can still fail at this level. Disaster relief organizations operating in active crisis zones have incorporated plain canned pumpkin into nutritional intervention programs, specifically because it delivers critical micronutrients cheaply, requires no refrigeration, and carries a 3 to 5 year shelf life. These are organizations that have seen firsthand what prolonged vitamin A deficiency actually does to people. They chose a $2 can as part of the response. Most consumers associate canned pumpkin exclusively with holiday baking. That seasonal blind spot means it's almost always in stock when every other canned vegetable has been stripped from the shelves. Quick action: buy at least a dozen cans. Stir into oatmeal, add to soups, use in flatbreads. $2 a can, and it closes a vitamin A gap that most stockpiles leave entirely open. Number 2, dried shiitake mushrooms. This one addresses a deficiency that forms almost invisibly and that almost no emergency food plan accounts for at all. Vitamin D. Under normal circumstances, the body produces vitamin D through sunlight exposure. Regular outdoor activity maintains adequate levels for most people. But in any shelter-in-place situation or any scenario that significantly limits time outdoors, that production drops faster than most people expect. The symptoms are easy to misread as something else entirely. Chronic fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, low mood without an obvious cause, disrupted concentration, a weakened immune response. Over months of deficiency, bone density begins to deteriorate. None of these appear dramatic in isolation. Together, over weeks, they degrade functional capacity in ways that directly affect your ability to manage an ongoing emergency. Now run through a typical stockpile: rice, beans, pasta, canned vegetables, freeze-dried meals. Vitamin D content across all of those? Effectively zero. Dried shiitake mushrooms are one of the only plant-based foods that contain meaningful, bioavailable vitamin D. When exposed to ultraviolet light during the drying process, they synthesize and retain vitamin D2 in quantities the body can absorb and use. Research confirms this. UV-exposed dried mushrooms can provide a substantial portion of the daily recommended intake per serving. Worth noting, vitamin D2 from mushrooms is absorbed somewhat less efficiently than D3 from animal sources. This supplements your plan rather than fully replacing other sources. But in a shelf-stable, plant-based stockpile, it's one of the only real options you have. Beyond that, dried shiitake mushrooms contain beta-glucans, compounds with well-documented immune-modulating properties. Multiple studies show beta-glucan consumption increases the body's capacity to identify and respond to pathogens. When medical access is limited or unavailable, that matters considerably. Practically, soak in hot water for 20 minutes and they rehydrate completely, adding real depth and texture to soups and grain dishes. The soaking liquid itself becomes a richly flavored broth, which is one of the most effective tools for making repetitive meals sustainable over an extended period. During shortage events, dried mushrooms from Asian grocery stores consistently stay fully stocked. Quick action: pick up several bags from an Asian grocery store. Seal them in airtight containers. Inexpensive, nutritionally significant, closes a vitamin D gap that almost nothing else on a standard emergency food list touches. Number 1. Salt-preserved lemons. Every other item on this list has addressed a specific gap: a missing macronutrient, an overlooked vitamin, an underappreciated physiological function. This one is different. This one addresses the single deficiency that has, documented consistently across centuries of recorded human crisis, caused more deaths and extended more survival situations than starvation itself. Not because it's dramatic, because it's invisible until it's already doing serious damage. Vitamin C deficiency. Scurvy. Most people associate scurvy with sailors from 300 years ago. That distance is exactly what makes it dangerous in a modern emergency context. The physiology hasn't changed at all. Without vitamin C, the body cannot produce collagen. Collagen is the structural protein that holds connective tissue together. After roughly 60 to 90 days of deficiency, the progression begins. Fatigue and irritability first, then wounds that heal more slowly than they should, then gum disease, joint pain, and structural deterioration of connective tissue throughout the body. Historical records from prolonged sieges, maritime expeditions, and extended famines document scurvy as a primary cause of death. In multiple documented cases, it surpassed direct combat or starvation in mortality numbers. This is not ancient history as metaphor. This is what prolonged vitamin C deficiency actually does to humans. Now run through a standard modern stockpile. Rice, no vitamin C. Dried beans, no vitamin C. Freeze-dried meals. Vitamin C is among the first nutrients degraded by the heat and pressure of that processing method. Bouillon, ghee, lentils, no vitamin C anywhere. You can build a large, carefully assembled stockpile with adequate calories and solid protein and still develop a life-threatening deficiency within 2 to 3 months. Because this one nutrient was absent from everything in the plan. Salt-preserved lemons solve this in a way almost no other shelf-stable food can. The process is simple. Fresh lemons are packed in salt and left to ferment over several weeks. The salt draws out moisture and creates a brine that preserves the lemons at room temperature indefinitely, with no refrigeration required, no special equipment needed. As long as the lemons stay submerged in their brine, the shelf life is essentially unlimited. The vitamin C is retained in the preserved rind. One piece the size of a thumbnail, rinsed, pulp discarded, rind minced finely, delivers a meaningful dose of vitamin C while simultaneously adding real complex flavor to soups, stews, grain dishes, and broth. One small piece per meal. That's the entire requirement. The fermentation process also introduces beneficial microorganisms that support gut and immune health. That's an additional nutritional layer on top of the vitamin C content. Commercially prepared preserved lemons are available at Middle Eastern and North African specialty grocery stores for around $8 per jar, or make them at home with fresh lemons and pickling salt when lemons are affordable. Roughly 15 minutes of actual work and a few weeks of waiting. During every documented shortage event, preserved lemons remain completely untouched on specialty store shelves. Most shoppers don't know what they are, don't know how to use them, don't know what they prevent. That knowledge gap is your advantage. Quick action. Find one jar. Buy it today. Learn how to use it. This is the lowest cost, highest consequence item on this entire list. The gap between knowing about it and not knowing about it could be the difference between a stockpile that actually protects your family and one that quietly fails them after 2 months. Number 0, apple cider vinegar. This one didn't make the original countdown but deserves a spot because it pulls weight in multiple categories simultaneously. Apple cider vinegar with the mother, meaning the unfiltered version with the cloudy sediment, contains beneficial acids and compounds that support digestion and gut health. In a high-stress environment where dietary variety is limited and digestive disruption is common, that matters practically. It also functions as a food preservative. Combined with pickling salt, it extends the shelf life of vegetables, proteins, and prepared foods significantly. That's a direct multiplier on the rest of your stockpile. Beyond preservation, it's a flavor tool. A small splash of acid transforms flat, repetitive grain dishes into something that actually tastes like food was prepared with intention. That morale function, similar to bouillon cubes, has real downstream effects on how much people actually eat when calorie consumption is already a concern. A large bottle costs $2 to $3. It lasts essentially indefinitely when stored properly. It functions as a digestive support, a preservation agent, and a flavor tool simultaneously. During shortage events, it stays on shelves because most people don't think of it as essential. It is. Quick action. Pick up 2 large bottles, one for food preservation and one for daily use. Cost is negligible. Function is significant. The pattern behind all of this. Here's what ties every item on this list together. When everyone builds their emergency stockpile from the same information, everyone builds the same stockpile. Same rice, same beans, same canned tuna, same water. When a disruption hits, that identical stockpile disappears from every store simultaneously. The overlap in what people stock isn't a sign of good preparation. It's exactly where the shortage appears. The real gaps in most emergency food plans aren't in calories. Most people have that covered reasonably well. The gaps are in omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, dietary fat, fiber, and the psychological continuity that keeps decision-making functional when sustained stress is compressing everything else. Every item on this list closes at least one of those gaps, cheaply, reliably, from a shelf that is almost always fully stocked when everything around it is empty. A stockpile isn't measured by how large it is. It's measured by how complete the nutritional coverage actually is. A large stockpile with systematic blind spots isn't protection. It's a slow-developing problem with a delayed timeline. Pick whichever item on this list covers the most obvious gap in what you already have. Start there, one item at a time. Which one is going on your shopping list this week?